Live.
We should be live.
We should be live. Excellent. Hey, well, congratulations, Jamie. This has been quite the morning.
Congratulations, Sean. It's great to be here. It's great to be here with you, everyone. My name is Jamie Stark. I look after voice interoperability and networking for Skype for Business at Microsoft.
I'm Sean Wilson, and I'm responsible for deployment and core. And we're here today to have our inaugural session as our Skype video podcast that's running live over Skype Meeting Broadcast.
We're running live over Skype Meeting Broadcast. So we had this intent to both, we both like to talk, and we both like doing conferences and reaching out and talking with customers. And so we thought, hey, we can both do that. And there's a lot of news coming. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. And we could also take advantage of this great technology. So Sean, we should probably tell the story of why we are in a room that looks like this and not a room that looks like the picture that I sent yesterday when we did our testing.
Yeah. So this morning, due diligence, right? We know that we're going to be doing this broadcast to showcase all the cool stuff that we've got and Skype Meeting Broadcast. And so we've got this beautiful setup of a staged area.
Well, I don't know if you'd call it beautiful. It was certainly intentional.
Intentional,
well, like we thought about it. We did some stuff with it, but yeah, it's in my office, and there's and now people are like, wow, what's going on in here?
Yeah. Well, and so we both were really smart, and so we got here early, and we got here like 2 hours before the event to make sure we were ready to go. And I walk in, and I see Jamie sitting there looking at me, and he's like, "We don't have network."
And it's not a common occurrence here at Microsoft. Our network is really quite phenomenal, and it's fun to post speed test results and stuff and send those to friends because you can effectively have switched gig, like up to the speed test servers. And so when there is a network thing, it's odd. And what was actually the most interesting of all is that I went onto my phone and I looked for wireless. And it was empty, and I've never seen that.
So, anyways, so we said, hey, let's wait it out. We'll see what's going on, and then about probably 20 minutes ago, we're like, I don't know if we're gonna have in our part of the building we're gonna get network. I think we should go to another building.
And so we're here in another building, a building that wasn't suffering from the same network outage that was impacting our building. And so that's why the background is a little different. But this, I think, really illustrates some of the great things about Skype Meeting Broadcast, right? Is that we literally have two laptops here, one mine that's running the broadcast hooked up to a camera, Sean's is running just as a backup, and then we're actually able to look at it and validate that, hey, we're actually on the screen and everything's working. But we're able to pick this stuff up, a couple workstations, bring it over to this building, plug it in. I am, knock on wood, also streaming this over wireless here in this building. And so far it's working great.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
And I don't know if you know this, but this was the original building for the data centers for us at Microsoft. So we are actually right at the core.
We're at the hub.
Yeah.
And so if you go onto Twitter, I tweeted out a picture of what our setup looks like from the back, which is a rat's nest of wires and cables. So we ripped them out of Sean's back and dumped them on the table and plugged them all in really quick.
So should we actually get started and kind of give them some background on what we're doing and why?
Yeah, I know, absolutely. So again, we want to do these sessions. We're going to do them every 2 weeks. We're going to stagger the time so that way one of the sessions is appropriate for the folks in Europe who are ending their day, and then the next session will be appropriate for the folks in Asia starting their day. It's just kind of the way it works out for U.S. time zones.
And we happen to be in the U.S., so it works for those that are around for us. So now one of the things, so let's talk a little bit about how we're delivering this.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know, but we're actually delivering this through our new Skype Meetings Broadcast. And what this is actually our ability to deliver at scale, right? Like true webcast capability up to 10,000 people.
Exactly. And that's just an artificial limit that we put on from a testing perspective. So the way that this operates is we actually have a software agent that comes from Azure that sits in this meeting and that picks up all the audio, all the video, all the content from the meeting and then brings it up into Azure Media Services. Then once in Azure Media Services, we can then transcode that and stream that out. And Azure Media Services we've used for lots of different stuff, right?
The Olympics for hundreds of thousands of people watching it at any given time.
Totally. So when we talk about releasing this, we're the kind of, we think that that a reasonable release limit's 10,000. We think that we'll be able to scale that beyond, but this is kind of a good place to start. And so you literally have the ability with just Skype for Business to take any meeting and turn it into a broadcast from a media perspective, like from a broadcast television kind of perspective. It's crazy.
It is. And actually it's available right now in preview, right?
It is.
So current customers can be trying this out and testing it. And you could do your own video podcast, or you could stream your all hands, or any other scenario where you would use your webcasting solutions. But I don't need a production team now to go and deliver this. I need the accessibility to my Skype for Business client and network.
And maybe some decent lights. Yeah. We got some okay lighting in here. Yeah, no, this is and it's just fantastic. It's just also one of the great examples of taking advantage of the power of the Microsoft Cloud and Azure and Office 365, both for Office 365 customers and for customers that run Skype for Business Server. So that's one of the kind of cool things. Like, we've got the cycles, and we've got the spindles, and we've got the fiber up in the cloud to be able to stream and to do this type of work that would take a lot to set up on premises. But for an on-prem customer, all you need to do is go in and hook up with Office 365.
Setting up that hybrid environment and being able to really take scale of this. One of the things so in my previous life, I actually was a video guy here at Microsoft and other places, and was responsible for video strategies. And one of the biggest challenges that we faced, even internally at Microsoft and even talking to customers, is, hey, webcasting's great. A, it's really expensive, but B, it's difficult to manage. And by enabling this, you're not having to manage anything. It's now managed by Azure and Skype for Business Online.
Absolutely. And it uses the same tools from a production and delivery perspective that users are familiar with, just using the Skype for Business client here. I mean, we've got two of them up. One of them that I see is delivering the broadcast, and another one that is up and kind of monitoring what's going on.
Yeah.
So this brings up the topic of preview. So this capability is in preview. We've got some other features in preview that we'll talk about. But just let's step back a little bit. Let's kind of talk generally about what we're doing with preview with the Skype for Business team.
Yeah, so let's holistically kind of talk about what is a preview, right? So we all remember beta of back in the day, right? Very exclusive, very hush-hush. Hey, you get special access to these things really early, and it was a great way for us to validate. But one of the things that's become more prevalent is, with the internet and accessibility to online services, we're able to deliver some of those great capabilities to some of our most loyal, as well as some of our most constructive feedback people, to help us learn. And so, previews seem to be all the rage. It seems to be the new phrase out there is, it's not a beta, it's not early release, it's a preview. And, I think of it like, it's like a premiere. Remember the movie premieres where you get to go early, but only certain people can do that.
Or it's only certain theaters or certain cities or.
Yeah. So one of the things that we really have driven is this concept of rolling out preview. And actually the first one we started with was the Skype for Business client.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
and we did it. And one of the reasons that we do it is readiness, right? Like get our IT pros, get our customers ready to see these new features and test them out early, but really is also kind of get the excitement going, right?
Yep.
If you think about what we get to play with at Microsoft, one of my friends was telling me, he's like, I don't think I could ever leave Microsoft because I am using technology 18 to 24 months or more before it's ever rolled out at a customer.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And we've been running a lot of all hands meetings off of Skype Meeting Broadcast. We've been doing a lot of exercising the feature, but in a cloud service and in a cloud environment, there's only so much exercising that we can do here internally. Like, granted, we're 160,000 employees, we're worldwide. Like, there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of diverse environments for us to be able to test into what we call dog food features. But with the cloud services, like, there's even more of a need to put it up online, to have people go and exercise it, both from a scale perspective and then also from a feature functionality perspective. There's a lot of cases where the feedback that we're getting from preview directly impacts the way that we think about feature prioritization and whether or not, certain features will have, different fit and finish. And it's significant.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've actually had the ability to do is in those early stages is identify stuff that we would never have identified in our own ecosystem. Microsoft is, being our large scale environment we are, one of the things that we don't have is the ability to really see some of the different nuances in different networks, different environments along that way. So one of the things that we want to make sure as we're doing this is that our features, but not even our features, our services are truly going in the right direction we want them to go, right? And we want our customers to really be able to provide that constructive feedback, but also because the people that typically tend to do preview are ones that will actually test its limits, right? And
that's what's actually fascinating, especially for some of the other features that we have going in preview right now, the ones that I'm particularly, really excited about and kind of looking after around Cloud PBX and PSTN calling. This is the ability to have your users get voice features, capabilities, and then calling services directly from Office 365. So this has been up and running in preview now since July, and it's been really remarkable how even a service that we're still adding features to and still bringing capabilities to, there has been so much usage, and the usage has been increasing at an exponential rate, even that. So which is just really, really, fantastic to be able to see. Now, there is a little bit of downside with that, we do have to admit. One of the cases specifically around Cloud PBX, we're starting to roll out the ability to do 911 services and number portability. So two kind of key capabilities, right? If you want to bring your phone system up into the cloud with Office 365, you're going to want to move your numbers there. Yeah. You're going to want to be able to provide emergency services for your employees, like, no question. These are key capabilities that we want to be able to test and we want to be able to exercise in preview. And in the process of rolling out those features, right now we're in a situation where you don't have the ability to assign phone numbers to users because all those pieces aren't wired up yet. We think that this will be worked out by early next week, but this is just one of the things as we're staging some of these features. Sometimes preview, you get into a state where some things are working or some things aren't quite sideways. And right now we've got this big set of material that's being brought into online, and that's why.
That brings up a great point, and or more. I like stories, and one of the things that Jamie talked about is dog fooding, right? And so at Microsoft, we're one of our first and best customer is kind of the phrase that we use internally. And, I think probably also some of our most critical customers. But one of the things that we learn and use soon to kind of embrace that modality or lifestyle, so to speak, is that, occasionally your features aren't working as smoothly as it would if it was in production. But I think that that's actually okay. And one of the things that reminds me of that was when we were actually doing the client rollout, and we actually had rolled out the Skype for Business client as a preview. We did it in a format that really was focused on MSI. It was focused on the corporate environment, and we kind of and it wasn't that we missed the Office 365 through click to run, but more that we had to choose one direction or the other, right? And so as people start to look and think about previews, we need to make sure that they understand that this is actually our ability to help you with readiness. It's our ability to test that feature out, right? And help build kind of a community around it. But at the same point, it's not necessarily that the fit and finish of a final product is there. And I think that's important, because I think that's what gets us to the better product in the end.
That's absolutely right. No, I firmly believe that. And especially as I think about Cloud PBX and the work that we had with the tenant admin, the tenant admin set of capabilities with Cloud PBX, when we initially released it, was very much just enough to be able to do the functions necessary. And that was very intentional. We wanted to get that feedback to understand how people were using it, to be able to get telemetry from the way that folks process through the workflow, and then use that to understand how we can make it better, both from a design perspective and from kind of a core workflow perspective. And so for folks that are on preview, I think that you can kind of understand what the subtle underlying message here from Sean and I is. Please continue to use it, and please continue to give us feedback. That your usage in and of itself gives us telemetry to be able to help understand, where to exercise the product more and where to put calories into making changes. But then your direct qualitative feedback as well is super, super important.
Totally. I couldn't say that myself. So, one of the things that I'm seeing a lot of the Twitter pieces come in, and I thought I'd kind of
I actually had to mute my workstation earlier because it was making so much with Twitter.
Well, one of the things I want people to understand is, just like preview, where we get that feedback and we take it early, I want people to understand that this whole broadcast is really the ability for you, our audience, to hear about what you want to hear about. So, we've got a couple topics tonight, this afternoon, that we had gotten feedback that people wanted to hear about. I know I've seen Twitter blowing up because people are specifically asking, and if so, we have a couple minutes at the end, we can fire it up and see what that is. But through Yammer, through Twitter, continue to make sure that you're providing that feedback. And at the end of this session, that's SfB cast, the AKMS SfB cast, is going to go back to the Yammer site. So continue to post that information until 2 weeks from now when we do our next session. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And so that this is one of the things that we'll do as we do more of these. Sean and I made, like, when we were initially thinking about this, we made this giant list of topics, and we're thinking, like, well, what should we talk about? I recently one night, I just needed to fall asleep, and I just needed to kind of unload my brain. And so I literally, in my phone, just as I was trying to fall asleep, I started writing all the stuff that I'm kind of paying attention to right now in the business. Then it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 40 things. So there's plenty of stuff for us to talk about.
And that's just his stuff, right? I mean, there's a whole other list of stuff I'm doing and our peers are doing in client and mobile.
And so anyway, there's lots of opportunity for us to, whether it's software-defined networking or the IT Pro community and the IT Pro tools features that you've been working on.
Some of the adoption stuff, right? Like
that's right.
Let's be clear, as IT pros, we're really good at bits and bytes, right? But understanding the personal pieces and getting it's a muscle we're learning to grow. And so there's a lot of stuff we're doing in that space too. So,
and then there's this whole Cloud PBX thing that I was just talking about that we're releasing as a part of E5, which is a new licensing SKU. There'll be more news about that coming up. You can also add that onto an E1 or an E3 subscription. And that doesn't come with, but it works with a PSTN calling service that I talked about briefly, a PSTN conferencing capability, and the ability to use your own infrastructure, to be able to use your own circuits, your own carrier contracts on your prem, and be able to hook that up with Office 365 as well. And that was actually the first question that we had from Pavel. So Pavel had wanted to know, and again, you can see these out on Yammer. We just grabbed a kind of random sample of them here. Pavel wanted to know about Cloud PBX. Like, what's the deal with the kind of gateways and the phones and the different kind of associated infrastructure that would be needed in order to have this running? And so this is in reference to that hybrid type of mode. We call that on-premises PSTN connectivity. So the idea is that with Cloud PBX running in Office 365, you can have some Skype for Business server software that connects between the PBX that you have on premises today and Office 365 and Skype for Business working online. And one of the cool things is that we actually can take advantage of that existing server software. And so the same gateways and session border controllers and PBXs and everything that's supported today in Skype for Business Server will be supported in this topology as well.
So you basically have taken my traditional TDM or my telephony world that I might have a huge investment in, and instead of saying, hey, by the way, you need to get rid of that and go to Skype for Business and use us, it's now, hey, by the way, we've got a great transitional path for you to make sure that you make the transitions you need to connect really your on-premise voice infrastructure, and then be able to potentially, if you're growth or scaling or retiring, as we roll out PSTN calling, right, you can then bring those voices and really have hybrid states, right, where you've got some on-prem and some in the cloud.
That's absolutely right. We actually think that this is going to be the way that most customers are going to consume the cloud PBX capability early on. One, the first reason is that Cloud PBX is available worldwide, and on-premises PSTN connectivity is available worldwide. So no matter where you are in the world, you can take advantage of Cloud PBX with Office 365, hook that up with some on-premises Skype for Business Server software, and use that as the bridge between your existing circuits and carriers and the cloud. And we're going to be able to do this in a couple different ways. Existing customers will be able to just use their existing pool and to be able to configure this, a lot like you would configure a split domain kind of setup. Okay. You could also, if you wanted to, deploy your own pool from scratch. But what we'll actually be able to do is deliver virtual machines that implement just this type of topology. We'll be able to deliver those as well. So you don't actually have to go and deploy an entire pool. Essentially, what we've done is we've taken, it's so cool. We've taken just the core interoperability pieces that you need in Skype for Business, pulled those out, packaged those up as VMs, and then customers can download and run those on their own hardware and use that. So if you don't need the whole pool, you don't have to have it.
That's awesome. So in that scenario, are my users homed in the cloud, or are my users on-prem?
In that scenario, users are homed in the cloud. They're logging into Office 365 and Skype for Business Online. They're set up for Cloud PBX. But when they go to make a phone call, all their media goes on premises to this interoperability set of components using on-premises PSTN connectivity and goes out through your existing SBC gateway or PBX.
That's actually a mouthful.
I know. But it describes what it is.
Perfectly.
It describes exactly what it does, and that's what we're trying to. We don't want to be confusing to people. We want to make sure this stuff is clear.
Very clear.
There's a lot that you can do, and there's a lot that's coming out with this. So.
One of the things I was wondering, and so in that instance, I've got the cloud, and I've got my on-premise. How do I ensure that quality, right, between the two environments?
Biggest concern that we have a lot of times is when customers go to Office 365. There's that link between what's happening on your premises and what's happening in our cloud that we can't control until now.
Yeah.
So Azure with ExpressRoute has been doing fantastic work in solving this exact problem. And just in the next week, you're going to see the official announcement from Azure announcing ExpressRoute for Office 365. And so what ExpressRoute for Office 365 means is you'll be able to set up an Azure ExpressRoute connection, and in addition to having deterministic network connectivity between your premises and the cloud, for Azure, you'll also be able to do that for Office 365 workloads as well. So your SharePoint, awesome. It's so cool. So your SharePoint, your Exchange, and your Skype for Business will go through a connection that preserves all the quas, that takes it all off of the internet, and that is essentially nailed up, and you have you can think of it as having Office 365 kind of operating as a part of your data center.
Dude, that's awesome.
So just within the last couple of days, Azure has put a lot of the documentation, the kind of core documentation on this up online. So azure.microsoft.com/ExpressRoute. Go and check out this material. You'll see some public announcements here coming up pretty soon. And yeah, we're really, really excited for this. We think for media, especially for any kind of media services with Skype for Business, whether you're doing just meetings, whether you're going to do meetings plus Cloud PBX, we really highly recommend the customers look into ExpressRoute. There's some other news that's coming up from the Azure folks, so definitely stay tuned on that.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, so that kind of took care of Pavel's question, but Nigel, he seems to be wanting to know more specifically about codecs and the progression of codecs. So the specific question was, hey, is RT audio and RT video now replaced by Silk? So I know that we've actually now embedded Silk as our voice client within the Skype for Business. But tell me a little bit about that and where we're going to actually see some of the improvements. Like, I know Silk is a much more resilient codec. It's been used in the Skype client for years, and it deals with iffy networks better, right? It deals with high jitter and definitely is a more resilient codec. But tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so this is one of the kind of key parts of of bringing the Link kind of heritage into Skype for Business, right? And so when we first started thinking about what it means to rebrand the Link client as Skype for Business and Link server as Skype for Business, we pretty quickly decided it shouldn't just be about the user experience. It shouldn't just be about the look and feel of the client. We need to make sure that there are the right technical underpinnings there as well. And so one of those fundamental things is the ability to do audio, video, instant messaging presence between Skype for Business clients and Skype consumer clients. And we wanted that to have the best possible experience across the widest number of clients. So it was that, plus, as you were saying, the kind of the fundamental technical capabilities of Silk were really, really interesting, particularly on mobile. So one of the things we were finding, if you were looking at kind of a perfect network or a well-managed network inside of an enterprise, real-time audio, the codec we've been using in the Heritage Link clients for a long time, and Silk performed effectively the same. But when you started to see networks that were 4G or devices that were operating on just one core on battery, Silk had a much better experience and a much better quality when you factored in CPU usage and battery life as well.
Oh, okay.
And so Silk was actually first in the Link mobile clients. It's one of the first places we put Silk in, and then slowly we've been putting Silk into more and more of our clients. And now, of course, it's the default codec in Skype for Business 2015 and 2016.
Awesome. So one of the things you were just talking about, that's kind of a great intro to the next
segue into the question from
right?
Chris. Yeah.
Chris has asked about new features in Skype for Business Mobile, and I kind of want to take mobile at a high level, and we can drill down into that. One of the pieces about Skype for Business Mobile that we got feedback early on was, hey, you did Windows Phone, right? Doesn't surprise anybody, right? If we were in California, developers for an iOS client probably would have been the same as us having a Windows Phone developer up here, right? So, but we launched that in May. But one of the things, and we're in preview with iOS and Android right now, to be released shortly and soon. But one of the things that was interesting was, when we did our rebrand for our client, so it had that look and feel for Skype, right? So if you're still using Link 2010 or 2013 and that user interface, the Skype for Business UI is much more Skype-esque, I guess is the easiest way to say it. And it's got that look and feel and the same, iconography. But one of the pieces that we had as feedback was, hey, if I go from this device to this device to this device to this device, meaning mobile, tablet, whatever, it was a different experience across the board and a different look and feel and functions. So one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we got was, hey, can you make it so that it has the same experience across all platforms? And so what you're seeing is, you will see as we roll out iOS and Android, you'll see that unified experience that is consistent across all of our platforms.
I was actually just meeting with a customer this week at the EBC. Well, not technically the EBC because this was the day before the Chinese premier was in town, and so they had closed the EBC to sweep it for stuff and bombs or whatever. So we were in another building, but it's still same kind of idea. And they were on the preview for iOS. Unfortunately, we could only have 1,000 folks in that iOS preview. So we really had to make sure that it was distributed pretty far and wide, and not everybody that wanted to get into that preview could. This customer was fortunate enough to be able to get in, and the feedback that we had from it that they were giving me on was just fantastic. They were like, "Wow, this is the client that we were expecting, that we were hoping. Like, you guys are absolutely on the right track."
Yeah.
Even then, I do remember that Chris did have a specific question around the ability to send pictures from the iOS client, and right now that is not in the next rev of the client. But I know from talking with the engineers that this is definitely something that they're looking at.
Yeah, I know it's on the radar. It seems to be a request across the board. But yeah, actually, I wanted to go back. You were saying the 1,000 people for Apple. It was really interesting. I found this out, is that is actually a limitation from Apple.
Right.
And they don't allow more than 1,000 in beta. Is that, or in their preview programs?
Exactly.
So that was really where it was, and it was interesting because we got a lot of feedback from customers saying, "Hey, I want to be part of this. I really want to be part of it." And when I say a lot, I mean everyone. And we were getting that feedback. Even internally, we got that feedback too, right? So, so bear with us as we do these preview programs. That there's limitations that might be outside of our control, even, right?
And speaking of popular future preview programs, we were joking with our colleague who looks after the Mac client that we may end up having a recurring segment of this video podcast specifically on the Mac, because we know how popular of a topic it is.
Yes.
And so Michael had asked, of course, where are you guys with the Mac?
I believe it is anytime there is a post anywhere. The second question is, what's going on with Link for Mac?
And so we absolutely want to make sure that everyone understands we're not ignoring this. We completely hear this feedback. And it is heard at the highest levels, and it is being worked on right now. And so at the earliest possible moment that we have some like really significant stuff to share about the Mac and the new client that we're working on, the Skype for Business Mac client. Yeah,
we promise we'll totally be doing that.
Absolutely, we'll bring him here. We'll bring Paul, our colleague who looks after the Mac client. We'll bring him in here, and we'll get him to talk through it. So. We know that we know the work is ongoing. We've gotten some early kind of snippets and stuff from engineering. There's still a little bit too early for us to share, but the next opportunity, we absolutely will make sure that we can share as much information that we can about the Mac. We hear you. And that is we know that we will continue to do this over that period of time. So Sean was just looking to see what our if there was any feedback coming from the unwashed masses there on Twitter.
We did actually have one quick comment, because somebody was having problems with getting into the video. They didn't see the curtain, but other people seem to be there. So
okay, good.
Retry if you were having an issue and you can't hear this. You probably won't get it. It will be available afterwards for recording. We will be posting this in the Yammer site, and a link to that through through Twitter as well, right?
Yep. Yep. And then just at a high level, like this is our intent to be more responsive and to get more information out to the IT Pro community. With Sean and I and our colleagues, we're out on that Yammer site as much as we have time to be able to answer questions. I've seen a bunch of MVPs out there, doing yeoman's work, answering, even the questions that are deeper than the stuff that we can get into. And this is kind of part of that, that we want to be able to, in addition to having that conversation on Yammer, to also be able to have this kind of conversation as well.
And really is if you think about it, it's the evolution, right, of building that community for people to be able to truly bring that information in and, get to listen to us talk. Because let's be clear, coffee and talking kind of seems to be our thing, right? And so, there's nothing like 9 a.m. on a Friday morning of packing up. I mean, I really do need to tell people it wasn't just pulling our laptops over. The confidence monitors here, which is actually a projector. We're hopping in the car. We're walking over to the building. But what it does is really talks about the versatility and how much that we love doing this too. So make sure that feedback comes. I will say that Chris has posted quite a lot of information on the Yammer site, especially referencing that you giving him the shout out. So, one of the things we will do is we will actually come back and actually answer these questions in the next segment.
Yeah, definitely. If we don't get a chance to, I know that we're obviously using the Yammer forum as a way to scrape content for us to be able to talk about this stuff, because I want to talk about cloud PBX. So of course Pavel's question about gateways and stuff gives me a chance to talk about on-premises PSTN connectivity, which is the thing that I'm working on that of course I'm going to want to talk about. And
like from my standpoint, I'm spending a lot of time. I ran Link actually here internally at Microsoft for 3.5 years. Adoption is a major thing to me. Like when we did the client preview, I walked in, started the job, and they said, we're going to change the UI. And I said, are you going to give anything to my IT brethren? And they said, guess what? You just got yourself a job.
Hey, congratulations. Sounds like you know what we need there.
And so we're actually doing a lot of things there. Actually, we've got if you stay tuned to Twitter, we've got actually a showcase series going on for end users, webinars for basically how to use the client, aka MS/learn SfB. And you can take a look at that. But we're going to be talking about a lot of these different things. And so we're trying to think of probably the right forum to set up what the segment and the next topics are going to be. So your feedback, should we let you know what the topic's going to be, or should it just be the Sean and Jamie show?
And so with that, I think we can close it out. Yeah. We've talked about the things that are on our little list here, so
that's right. I have a feeling that list is going to be very much longer next time.
That's okay.
That's excellent.
And so hey, live from not the building where we normally work in.
Skype on and
yeah, that's right. Skype us. All right, take it easy, everybody.